I want my toe. It's Drewski McGillicuddy's Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark movie review from the Dent Schoolhouse. Hey everybody, look out Maggie, it's Drewski McGillicuddy, and I got the mermaid, I got the secretary,
and a little grandson.
And we're here at the Dent Schoolhouse. And I was gonna film in the front of the house, but there was too much noise pollution. And it's not that easy to tell scary stories in the dark if there's a lot of noise pollution. You see what I did there?
I see what you did there.
We went and seen scary stories to tell in the dark, okay? And before we went, these two jackasses had never read any scary stories to tell in the dark. So I took the treasury and I had them read on the way to the theater the three main stories that were in the movie.
Well, 2.5. We didn't get all the way through the third one.
Oh, but anyway, what did you think of them?
I liked them.
Were you scared?
No.
It might have something to do with it being slightly daytime outside. And you can't tell scary stories in the daytime. It doesn't work like that. So right off the bat, I want to say I was pleasantly surprised that this movie doesn't actually take place in the 80s, which I assumed it did. It takes place in 1968, and we all know something great happened in 1968. And that's George Romero's Night of the Living Dead, and they actually featured it in the movie, so it's getting bonus points, everybody.
Prominently featured.
Prominently featured. Not only do they just show a little advertisement for it, there's a scene where they're at the drive-in, and the movie's playing on the big screen, and I absolutely love that. So hopefully these kids will be like, what movie were they watching during the drive-in scene? And their parents will be like, oh, that's Night of the Living Dead. And then everybody will go home and they'll watch Night of the Living Dead, and the world will be a little bit better place.
Hopefully.
Anyway, that's beside the point. Let's talk about this movie, okay? The movie's about these kids, and it's kind of they kind of remind me of the Losers Club. Everybody's saying that they're, you know, but what group of kids weren't like the Losers Club, you know? When I was a kid, I remember hanging out with my friends and doing stuff and things, and that's what these kids do. They do stuff and things. It's Halloween night, and they're getting ready to go take some revenge on the town bully. The one kid poops in a bag. That was actually hilarious. He's fishing turds out. Yeah, he's fishing turds out of the toilet with a net, and his mom says, what the hell are you doing? And he's like, I need a little privacy in here. But yeah, I thought that kid was
that was Chuck.
That was Chuck, and he was the comic relief of the movie. And I thought all these kids were really good, especially Augie. Augie, I thought he was good. I thought Stella was really good, and even Raul. And the other thing about this movie taking place in the 60s, you know, you got the Vietnam backdrop, and then there's some slight racism going on with the town sheriff and the Raul. He tells him, what do you do? He's like, you must not be from around here.
You know where you're going, boy?
You know where you're going? You better get out of this town for the sun sets on your ass, or something like that. He's being all kinds of racist, and I didn't appreciate it. But that's all right, because pretty soon the Jangly Man is going to come for you. But that's later on in the movie. But yeah, they go into this house on Halloween night, right after like one of the best fucking scenes I've ever seen in a movie. So I don't know how this movie's got such a low score already. And it's got one of the best scenes involving the bullies.
And some revenge.
In a flaming shit bag. I absolutely love that. But anyway, I'm not going to tell you about it because you're going to have to go see the movie to know what I'm talking about. But anyway, they go into this house and they're searching around this house, and they find this locked door that's basically a secret compartment, and it lets them down into this room. And then Stella finds this book, and then later on realizes, oh, it's writing its own stories, and every story it writes happens in real life, and they've got to figure out how to stop it. And that's what the movie's about. It takes the stories that are from the original book and it puts a new spin on them so that they can be in this movie.
Yeah, it includes the characters in the movie in the stories.
Because the first story that plays out in the book pretty much is Harold, and absolutely love the way they made the Scarecrow look. I mean, he looked dead on his counterpart in the book,
Yeah.
but real life, I like the bugs and how the bugs crawled out of his mask and through his holes and stuff like that. Go ahead, say it, Maggie.
Through his holes.
Through his holes. Well, tell us what you thought about Harold.
I was like, okay, well, I'm very jumpy in general, so it doesn't take much to scare me, and yeah, I jumped at least like 5 times in this whole movie.
Yeah.
There was a scene when they're in the house, because they're in the house and like 2 of them are running around trying to scare each other, and the other 2 are just, exploring.
Looking for signs of Sarah.
Chuck is in this closet, and he's hiding from his friend because he was going to jump out and scare Augie, right?
Yeah, he was.
So he's going to jump out and scare his friend. He shuts this closet door and he starts hearing a noise and he opens it. And when he opens it, it's not the abandoned house anymore. There's lamps on, the carpet's brand new.
The wallpaper has color.
And he opens the door and there's this Doberman Pinscher sitting there just staring at him. And it kind of sends some chills up your spine. But what's even worse is there's this lady sitting on the bed, and she like it was one thing, but then when she slowly started turning, for some reason it scared the shit out of me.
It did.
And I'm like, oh, what the fuck? And like
It
wasn't even anything really happening. And then there was a really good jump scare that happened right afterwards. But just the subtlety of seeing the woman on the bed, it was kind of like the bathtub scene from The Shining when he walks in the room and she slowly pulls back the curtain. Watch out before you get elbowed in the face. But anyway, so there was definitely some very effective jump scares, let alone just the eeriness of the setting and the use of lighting and the way everything looked. And then the design of the characters, except for, tell them, Maggie, tell them about it. I knew as soon as she started laughing that something had gone wrong.
Are you talking about the pale lady?
Yeah.
Yeah, the big marshmallow lady.
That's what she looked like. I mean, don't get me wrong, she looked exactly like she looks in the book. But I don't know if that's a good thing to translate to film, because it just looked... It looked fucked, everybody. That's the only way around it.
When they first showed her, I looked at Maggie and I said, "Now that's a cankle."
I was like, talk about looking like a potato.
You're right.
But anyway, another one of the stories that are in the movie, they were in pretty much the main stories in the book are in the movie, including the big toe, which I thought that played out pretty good, because they're trying to tell this kid, hey, we're reading your story right now in the book. He's like, oh, ha ha ha, you're just trying to scare me. He's like, no, whatever you do, don't eat anything. And because he was on the phone with his parents and they're going on some kind of vacation, they didn't bother to go to the grocery store, and he happens to open the refrigerator and says, oh, I'll just eat this stew. And I'm assuming his parents said, what stew? Because he's like, the stew in the refrigerator. So,
I don't know who made it, but I'm gonna eat it.
yeah, that's what he said. And then he proceeds to heat it up on the stove, and you see it looks pretty appetizing until the toe bubbles to the top of it. And then he's eating the stew and pulls the toe out of his mouth, and then that's when you get, because he's like telling him, I don't hear any voice. Like, they're gonna be saying, where's my toe? And he's like, I don't hear anybody saying anything except for you. You're the only one screaming about a toe. And then once he eats the toe, then he starts hearing, where's my toe?
And he doesn't really eat it. I think that's one of the worst parts.
I think he goes to bite down on it. Yeah. And then they've got the red dot in the movie, which I thought worked like it was
foreshadowing in the movie.
The thing is, like, because I didn't read all the reviews, but like the taglines, and some of the bad ones were just talking about how it was kind of boring, and I didn't really find it boring. Like, some of the parts, they seemed like they repeated themselves, like when they were researching cerebellum.
Cerebellum.
But anyway, like, there was like 3 or 4 let's go to the library and research this shit scenes, and it was like, okay, that's like...
Well, no, a fun thing was Gabe said, what are they doing? And I got
he
to
didn't
say,
know that's what...
That's how people looked things up before there was Google.
which is another reason that it's good that this movie didn't take place in our time. No cell phones, no Google, like, yeah.
But they did take a poke at today's society because the kids said, well, if it was in the newspaper, it has to be the truth, right?
Anyway, so yeah, the red dot, that was the only other thing with the CGI, other than, I guess, the jangly man had a little kind of goofy look on his face or something. But, like, that was probably the best part of the movie. Like, we're getting into our third act, and Raul finds out that, well, he what do you want to call it?
The sheriff.
It dawns on him that
reveals.
it's going to be his story, and he says, I know what it's going to be. My dad used to tell me this story, and it terrified me as a child, and it's about the jangly man. Am I saying it right? Is it the jangly? Jangalang, jangalang, jangalang.
Well, by that time, we find out his real name.
Let me know if you get that reference in the comment section down below.
His real name is Ramon.
Ramon.
By that point.
Ramon Miguel.
No, I thought it was
Rodriguez.
That was his fake name. Because he's a draft dodger, everybody, not to spoil the movie. Anyway, so yeah, the jangly man. He comes through the fireplace? That's a fireplace?
Yeah, he comes down the fireplace.
Well, he doesn't really come through the fireplace. He throws his head down there, and his head opens his eyes and starts talking shit to the sheriff, and the sheriff says, you gotta be shitting me, not to spoil it, but I thought it was fucking great. I started clapping, and then he shoots it in the head a bunch of times. But, you know, we all know you can't kill a ghost with bullets. But, or did you not know that?
Yeah.
Anyway, why don't you all say some stuff?
Well,
What was the scene that scared the shit out of you? Because you, like, literally
Oh
jumped
my
out of your seat and
gosh,
started
you
crawling
did.
over people to get the fuck out of the theater.
It was the jangly man. He like got smashed in between the car and the fire truck, and then he's like, "Brr," like trying to get out, but then he like loosens up and like just falls apart, like how he did when he came down.
He deconstructs.
Yeah, like when he came down the fireplace, he did the same thing to get out from between the
Just
car.
have to call this a spoilery-ish type
And
review.
then I thought it was just gonna cut to the next scene because it was like implied, like, oh, that's how he's gonna put himself together and get out of that situation. But no, that didn't happen. He pops up from the bottom of the screen and he was like, ah! And I jumped like 3 feet in the air.
There was
Yeah,
something else
it
that
did.
made you jump. We all fucking jumped.
I jumped like 5 times, but that was the worst time that I jumped.
I don't jump at movies, so.
You like Gabe, he was getting scared at one point. Like I was it's not like I was scared, but I was on edge the whole time, and I think it had a lot to do with just the tension building, because you know shit's about to go down, and you don't know how it's going to go down, and then once it starts going down, you're like,
yeah, it's a
like
lot of,
especially like even though like the pale lady
yeah.
like looked fucked up, the scene and the way it played out was
That's what
phenomenal.
bothered him was the
Was
scene,
absolutely phenomenal.
the tension building.
Yeah, there's a lot of
with
quiet
the pale
scenes.
ladies.
There's
Is what got him.
Where you're just looking at nothing, like the scene where they're actually in the basement towards the end and they see Sarah Bellows.
Cerebellum is from
and
the Powerpuff
it
Girls.
looks amazing. It's one of the best depicted like ghost things I've ever seen put in a movie. And then they show her actual face, and it kind of, I was like, oh, she was better when she was scary, not when she's all sad.
Ah.
But there is a underlining story. Is that what you call it? An underlying story beneath all of this stuff going on
It's a big conspiracy.
with this girl, which I won't go into spoilers with that.
No.
But you know, you figure you've read the book, you know some of this stuff's going to happen in the movie. So I don't necessarily know if I spoiled anything. If I spoiled anything for you, let me know in the comment section down below.
I think it would be more spoilery if we talk about the in between the stories that are in the stories.
Yeah. What? I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Anyway, Maggie, do you have anything further to say?
You did miss a funny scene when you went to go to the bathroom.
Oh,
I must have drank me about 15 Dr. Peppers.
because I had drank so much pop, I had to go to the bathroom, and I really didn't want to because I was enjoying the shit out of myself during this whole movie.
But it was a very minor scene, but it made us laugh. Like
Yes. It was hilarious.
The one kid was talking to his sister. She's like standing in the bathroom in front of the mirror, and he's giving her crap because she's got a zit on her face. And she's like, "Bah, it's a spider bite, leave me alone." And like he's standing there holding a banana while he's talking to her, and she slams the door in his face, and then he goes, "Oh, my banana!" And then Andy walked in right after that was said. So
What was
were
the
all
other thing
laughing.
that he said that cracked me up?
This is why I don't read books.
Oh, yeah.
And then I don't know, neither one of you laughed. I thought you would have caught it, but he's like, "I'm gonna die. I haven't had sex yet."
Oh shit, I didn't catch that, but I thought it was hilarious when he was like, what did he see that the book was writing itself, and he threw it on the ground and said, "See, this is exactly why I don't read books," which is, you know, kind of why I don't read books. As a matter of fact, this is probably one of the only books I've ever read aside from H.G. Wells' The Invisible Man, The Odyssey, and some random ass Nightmare on Elm Street novel that came out in the 90s. But other than that, I'm not a big reader. I got too active of an imagination. I'll start reading one thing, and then all of a sudden I'll trail off and I'll start writing my own shit in my head. Anyway, you got anything further to add?
No.
What about you, grandson?
No. Grandson.
Anything else to add about the movie?
No.
You're sleeping by yourself upstairs tonight.
You forgot to thank somebody.
Oh, thanks, Josh. Like, can I get the fucking rating first, Maggie?
I'm just saying,
Jesus
you didn't
Christ.
you didn't put that in
Look,
there.
I'm going to do mine first, and then y'all can have your numbers pop up, because I don't know how many layers I can have. But I'm giving it, I want to give it an 8 so bad, but there was just some things about it. You know what, fuck it, I'm giving it an 8. And then maybe if I watch it again, I'll re-review it. I'll do one of those revisits, and we'll see if it still holds up as an 8. Because the movie started off its theatrical run as being underrated as fuck. Anyway, I'm going to stop rambling and let these two give you their numbers. So there's mine.
You're probably going to be surprised, but I'm actually going to give it an 8 because it scared me. But it doesn't take much to scare me anyway.
That's surprising.
Surprising. Because of, I think, the ambiance of the movie, the acting was
The
wonderful.
atmosphere.
Yeah, the atmosphere was good. So I think I can overlook a few of the CGI
Because yeah, it
flaws.
had the exact same atmosphere as Autopsy of Jane Doe. So I think Andre, or what the hell's his name, Alverdal,
Anyway,
whatever the director's name is, he's got a knack for what do you call it? Atmosphere and aesthetics.
anyhow,
Remember the thing with the bell on his foot that reminded me of the toe lady? Anyway, go ahead.
because since I can overlook some of the CGI flaws, I'm going to give it an 8.5.
Woo! I also gave it an 8 because of nostalgia purposes. Because
Well, yeah.
yeah, I read the book.
Gabe, can you count that high?
What number would you give it?
Out of
10 out of 10.
He
Oh,
liked it
liked
that
it.
much. So it's the other thing. Before we leave you and say thanks, Josh, for letting us film at the Dent Schoolhouse. Also, John Stanton, look, I got the mermaid for you. This is me apologizing for not getting to your reviews that you've been asking me about, but you know, it's above and beyond my control. Are you gonna come over and watch John Wick?
Sure.
He wants you to review John Wick with me. Anyway,
I love
that's-
Keanu Reeves.
That's like a
Yes.
signed contract right there
Oh.
for you, John Stanton. Anyway, Josh, thanks a lot for letting us come down here and not calling the police on us. And in further, let me know if you've seen this movie and what your rating is and all that stuff. You can like the video right here because we got to go. It's past all of our bedtime, especially his. Did you just... You better get back there. Otherwise, you're sleeping in the basement.